You are live. Live. I am live. The world? Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everyone is doing well. Before I get into the broadcast, I wanted to say I spoke to so many people this week. I say many, maybe about a good four people this week. And everybody seemed like they were going through something in life, some situation arise, and they couldn't see themselves getting out of it. Like maybe someone needed a new job, someone needed some money to, a large sum of money to pay something. Just a bunch of different situations. Someone lost a loved one. Another girl I hadn't talked to in 3 or 4 years, and she was saying that she lost her dad and her dog. I was like, "There's so much going on." One of my relatives, he lost 4 of his grandchildren. So it's just been so much this week that I've heard from other people going through their situation, and I imagine most of us are going through something in life. Is life, but I tend to at least think about the times to where situations that I didn't think that I could get myself out of, and didn't see how I would get through. But I prayed and just tried to do my best to get through those situations. But also a reminder for you all is to think about the situations that you were in 5, 10 years ago, and you thought that you couldn't get out of. You don't know how you could mentally handle it. But today, if you're still here, and you made it through. And I would think that we all think about life like this, is just try to only focus on the things that you can control, and then the other stuff, just pray about it, and inshallah, all will be well. So that's what I wanted to mention first. Now, so last week's broadcast, I talked about intimacy in relationships. As a young lady, she asked me to talk about how couples could communicate better, and she also wanted me to discuss intimacy in relationships. So last week, I decided to talk about intimacy in relationships, and tonight, I want to go over some ways to where we could communicate effectively to build a functional, healthy relationship. So I will give you some of my views on the topic. Okay. So communication is one of my favorite topics, even though it's so broad. It's a broad topic. When you say, "Oh, communication," like you hear people, "Communication is key. Communication is key," and it's like, but it's a broad term. Uh, one of my favorite. It was one of my favorite courses that I took in college. I took probably about 3 communication classes, and I liked it because we discussed like the psychology of communication, right? And I'm only talking about the psychology of communication. Now, when I communicate with people, even when you communicate with people, when you talk to somebody, you have to understand that some people are just looking to get over on you. So you need to, be mentally aware of knowing that not everybody has good intentions. So you need to, uh, have some type of social awareness. Social awareness. I wonder if that's even a. Anyways, see me trying to be intelligent. Uh, so the other thing I do when it comes to communication between couples, interpersonal relationships, and like I'm going to talk about this article that the was it the Pew Research Center. I have a nice article to go over. So, but before I go into this article, um, what it was, well, no, let me just go over the article. So, I want to talk about things that I observed, things that I've seen online, and of course, I have this research paper that I am going to talk about. Okay, so I went online, found an interesting article. The Pew Research Center conducted a study of 4,800 participants inside the US. They said about 50% of people were not looking for relationships or casual dates. About 10% of people were looking for casual dates only, i.e., hookup. 14% looking for committed relationships only. 26% looking for either. In the U.S., about 50% of Black, white, Hispanic women said it's harder for them to date now than 10 years ago. So this study was done, I don't know, this article was written 4 years ago. So, it was written in 2020. So it's almost like 5 years ago almost. So it was written 5 years ago, and Pew Research conducted this study. And they said that most of the people that are looking for a relationship said they'll be open to dating someone from a different religion, race, or ethnicity other than themselves or them. Some say this may be to the Me Too movement. They say that it's impacted the way men and women interact on dates. There's an increased focus on harassment and assault when men and women are going on the first date together. I remember on another YouTube channel, I saw videos of women complaining that men are approaching them, men are choosing not to go out on dates and social events. I had a buddy of mine just last week. I was talking to him about artificial intelligence because the China-based company DeepSeek, you know, eventually was doing better than the U.S. company. Like what is it? Is it AI? AI? Let me see. DeepSeek and what is the U.S. company? Anyway, it was a U.S. artificial intelligence and a China-based company, and DeepSeek is the one for China. So I was just basically talking to him about how the fact that in society today, some of these countries are so driven to focus more on artificial intelligence, but it doesn't give that emotion. So artificial intelligence mimics the IQ of humans, of human beings, but they lack the emotional intelligence. So what I'm getting at is that people want to feel connected with the other person, with other people. They want to have some. They want to feel like relatable to others. Um, and telling him this is that, just like when you go in the grocery store, I don't like it. You go to the grocery store, they have so many self checkout lanes, uh, versus they're replacing people with the self checkout lane. So now when you go in the store, you're thinking you may run and talk to someone and, hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 spark up something, conversation. But instead, you go to most of these grocery stores, it's a machine. You do a self checkout. And my buddy, he was telling me that even some of his guy friends, they are um, choosing not to go out to bars and low social events to be around women. I was like, what? So then I was like, that's crazy. I was in my head, I'm thinking like, well, more for me probably. But um, he told me, he said that his friends were home on, he thought they were going out, but they were uh, going over to one of the other friends' house to play video games. And I'm like, what? So I was like, ain't no way. And, I was just like, that's kind of crazy to where this society is heading, because just like I just said, this research study said that 50% of people are choosing not to date, while the other 49%, they're open to it. So my thing is, I at least want to cover a few things today for the 49% of people that are interested in having relationships. So yeah, because even for me, like I remember maybe a couple of years ago, I noticed this too, that I would see always like a group of men in the neighborhood, like almost like 3, 4 times out the week. They'd come over to their buddy's house and they just uh, sit in the garage or whatever around their uh, fishing boat and just watch the baseball games. And I'm thinking like, okay, but that's what they like to do. They're men, and they worked all day, and maybe that's how they enjoy themselves. But even onto that, I'll discuss more about that later about you know men. If you have a partner that wants to stay home, play video games, or watch the baseball game or something too, the woman should be open to watch with uh, her boyfriend or husband or someone, whoever she's dating. So that's what I want to say about that. Even though, let me see, keep. Oh, look at this! I got 2 viewers, so this is nice. This is sweet. My first. I appreciate you all for coming online. This one got scared and left. Anyways, I just wanted to give a shout out for uh, being my first viewer. Um, so, some deal breakers would be inside the research that inside Pew's research. It said some of the deal breakers would be someone who lives far away, someone who has a large amount of debt, or someone who voted for Trump, someone who voted for Donald Trump. Um, what I think with some of these deal breakers that some people have and uh, some of the expectations, I've seen it to where if, let's say, like if a woman was interested in me, but maybe she didn't like some things about me or what I told her that was like a non-negotiable or her little deal breakers. It was almost like I think by the woman possibly being physically attractive or mentally attracted to me, which would work for some people if that was, if they were in that situation. I think people are a little bit more relaxed with their expectations, you know. Um, so just like I said, this is for people that want to be in uh, healthy relationships. So giving you a scenario, um, let's say I know women aren't going to approach men. I know women aren't going to approach men, but I would say women need to make make themselves visible. So let's say if you walking down the street in a grocery store or at an event, whatever, you need to kind of make yourself visible, like, and I know it's a double standard, but it's fine with me. I'm okay with it. But uh, if you look at your arm and then half of your arm would be like your personal space. So what I would say, if you're interested in a guy, it's okay to come like in his personal space to make yourself a little bit visible, or like it's almost like you don't. There's no like you're not. I want to say fearful, and I only say that because it's like fearful kind of thing. Because I imagine myself like a tiger sometimes. So, and a woman is like a impala or something. So, so if I was to see a woman and she's in my personal space, it's like okay, she's comfortable because this is what you have to do, a woman, when you don't know them. It's like you don't want to uh, come off as if you harassing her or in her personal space, but she's able to come in your personal space, and if she's comfortable. Even if you're interested in her, it's like you need to make her feel comfortable. You need to pay attention. As men, we need to pay attention to uh, her facial expressions, the nonverbal cues. Is what I'm getting at eventually. Um, so most women are going to kind of go and approach men, not unless it's dating sites. Some people that are on dating sites um, find that online dating, people tend to have success with online dating. That's why you see more and more people doing it now. Uh, Me, myself, I've been successful on a few dating sites. The only one I wouldn't like is probably Plenty of Fish. Uh, that's kind of like for like to me low hanging fruit. Is what I was saying. I was off that site in like 3 weeks. I was like, the hell, excuse my language. Like, I don't know what type of people they got out on that site, but um, women, you need to make yourself visible. Eye contact. Try to be like a little flirtish. It's okay for you to touch, to show that you are interested. Um, Now, let's say progressing through a relationship, um, and even in relationships, I would say we all need to uh, don't so much believe words people say, but watch their actions. Their actions. I know it's going to be difficult for women because women tend to uh, listen more and focus more on word set. Um, and you have some women will say, I've heard this a few times. It ain't how you say it. It's what you. Let me see how it goes. It's just like you hear something. It ain't what you say it. It's how you say it. You know. So that one gets me sometimes. Like as men, you're like, well, but anyways. But to women, it's like your tone of voice is important when communicating with a woman. And the reason why I'm going over this, the way I'm going over it, to try to cater to the women that, just like I said, I'm going over communication because there was a woman that asked me this question about a week and a half ago if I could do a video on communication. But in this video, I want to talk about how men could communicate better with their women and women could communicate better with their men. Uh, and, and another reason why is because earlier in the week, I've noticed for the amount of views that I've had on this channel, I have about, what is that, about 27% women out of the probably like, I've only had like maybe close to 25 or 2,600 views. But just like I said, I want to make sure that, um, yes, it's a men's channel, but women are over here too. But I want to uh, create something to where we have a um, healthy discussions about relationships. So that's that. All right. So during this interaction and progress into relationships, about 90% of communication is nonverbal. 50% of that is conveyed through body language. About 35% is your tone of voice, while a very small percentage is like probably less than 7% is based on your words. So like pay attention to the nonverbal cues that people make, like their facial expressions, their the little gestures and the little things that they do. Like, give you an example. Um, Many times, if I am, let's say I'm giving a speech, if I'm at work and I'm giving a speech, right? If I was at work and I'm giving a speech, what I would do, even though when I took communication courses in college, what what we would do is we would let's say we were actors. We're just acting, right? Same as actors. So what we are taught is to place like a loosely paper right above someone's head. And then we had to, this is how we got better at public speaking. It's like me looking at the camera. I'm okay with looking at people in public speaking. But whenever I was giving a speech or talking up and giving my opinion at work, I would focus here, but I would use my peripheral vision and pay attention to the way the person moved their eyes and or the little grimace on their face and the little like roll in their eyes or whatever. And that would tell me how this person thinks about me. And it could be men or women, because I see many men work with many men. So it's like men doing it to where it's like, dang, it's like you talking to a guy and you think that, oh, you and him cool, but the whole time he's shaking your head when you talk or moving his, like this. So it's like pay attention to the nonverbal cues, not just with your partner when you're interacting in your relationships, but pay attention to everybody, that you socialize with in your day-to-day life. And you will find out how these people, you'll get an idea about how these people, like what they think about you. Um, so Just like I said, look for these cues in your partners. Are they showing interest? Are they touching you, holding your hands, kissing, or just like I said, like I said, to where I could be looking in this direction, and you can imagine if a woman was interested in me, I would notice that she was twirling her hair, or either I just happen to look at my peripheral and I see her facial expression smiling, or whatever the case may be. Or maybe I was in a relationship and I'm talking and one of my ex or whatever was like, I can't stand his good looking ass. Something like that, but I'm just joking. So, just like I said, see if the person is showing interest. Do they make themselves available on dates? Do they respond to your calls, your text messages? Um, if someone hasn't responded to me in like 3 days, especially like if we're in a relationship or working toward it, I'm thinking like she must only want me to go ahead and start talking to some other women. But I understand that things happen, and sometimes I try to have a positive mindset to where I would pray and hope that everything's well with the person. But if it's already weeks or whatever, it's like hopefully they have a good excuse if they try to come back. Uh, Social media. I think we all need to be uh, aware, aware and mindful of what we put into our brain and our mind. Um, I recently, maybe for about like 3 years or more, I wasn't on social media platforms. I was on LinkedIn because it's business, and I'm able to connect with other real estate investors, bank lenders, private lenders, uh, and people that do marketing and different things like that. So, um, LinkedIn, I needed that for my business, but as far as just someone just to be online looking at social media all day, it's like you probably have to, well, you do you want, but I'm just saying it's like I think we need to kind of limit that in a way and not so much be on the phone on social media. Just like what I'm getting to, just imagine you're out on a date with your partner or someone that you're interested in, but they're on the phone looking at social media or not paying you any attention, you know? So this is why I say, like, try to um, be a little bit more respectful. I think that's disrespectful to even pull out your phone and talking and being on the phone. Matter of fact, I think I would pretty much end the date if that was me. But um, what I'm getting at is, I think even on the first date when you're going out with someone, you this is where you talk about your intentions, what your needs, your wants, your non-negotiables, what you don't like, what you won't tolerate, and stuff like that. Because some people, like most time, like I see some men, they'll they'll get with the woman, and then they'll wait in like already a few years in the relationship or so, and then they expect this woman to change or be different, and it's like, no, you should have mentioned that up front. It's like you should tell her your intentions, but like I would think, because I spoke to a young lady about this maybe sometime last year, and I said, well, most men probably won't do it out of fear that they won't get to be in a relationship with the woman, or they won't get to have sex with her, because we all, we're sexual beings, right? So um, that's for the men, but then the other thing is for the woman. It's like you might find a woman that's interested in you, and she'll just go along with everything, like okay, 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 and then in the middle of the relationship, well, I, I, I can't accept that. I don't. You need to stop doing this, and I don't want. Well, wait a minute. This guy told you his intentions up front, and then all of a sudden, you changing up some stuff. You know, so that tends to happen. Um, at least that's what I like from observation of you. That's what I see. Um, let's see. Okay. Still progressing through the relationship. Be open to the activities your partner enjoys. Your partner, I remember, I don't really care for amusement parks, but I remember there's one girl, she liked to go to amusement park. And like me getting on those rides and stuff, I'm like, oh my God. You know, I was like, I'm fearful of it, but I did it just because she liked it, right? Um, And the other thing I noticed about those rides, it was like going up. I was like, I guess some people use it for to release stress, or because like I had so much going on through my mind. But when I was on that roller coaster, being up in air, just I was like, damn, and it just took everything out of me. And now I'm feeling like I'm on clouds, So that was a great moment. But yeah, just do things that your partner enjoys, like uh, hiking, arts and crafts. Women, your man like playing games, play games. Watch football, watch baseball, whatever they want to do. Uh, I like water sports, so that's good. I like being in the water. Uh, do things that get you out of your comfort zone. You'd be surprised that you actually enjoy doing some of those activities. Show interest to your partner, show that you are interested. Uh, Another thing I notice is controlling our emotions is very important in relationships. Um, Sometimes you may want to act out when the other person asks you a question. You may have a lot of things on your mind, and the person asks you a question at the wrong time, or has expectations of you, or wants you to do something, and you're like, oh my God, and sometimes it's best just to take a step back for a moment and think about if you take a step back for a moment and think about the anger and rage that you're about to, that think about that energy. It's all that built up energy inside you about to come out. Think to yourself before you do that. Think about that energy, and ask yourself, is this going to give you any good outcomes or results doing this? And not just to your partner. Think about this when dealing with people around the world. Just like I had a few conversations with, paying my bills and stuff earlier in the week. And me, being polite, kind, uh, relatable. I was able to have good conversation with people and relate to them, and eventually everything went just the way I wanted it to go. So don't be so quick to get angry and upset because things didn't go your way and how you want it. You never know where other people are going through their situation. Uh, so it's best that you uh, learn to control your anger. And even for myself, I wasn't always like this, with control of my emotions. Maybe sometime, I think it was in like 2020, I read a book by Judge Lynn Toller, a divorce court attorney, that's TV, whatever, TV personality. And she has a book where her mother's rules, and she talked about how in her book that her dad, I believe her dad was a drunk. I read the book in 2020, so forgive me if I got anything wrong. But I believe her dad was a drunk, but he was a good man. And she also talked about how the relationship with her husband, like sometimes they would, argue and things. And eventually she said that what she tried to do was try to learn more about her husband, but I believe she said it took to where it was after 15 years, but she finally realized how to communicate better with her husband. So she said that what she ended up doing was catching her husband at his when in his happy moments. When he was happy, that's when she would ask him questions about the relationship and things that they need to do with the kids and stuff. So she said that whenever she had sex with her husband, once he released all that stress or whatever he went through throughout the day, and, after sex, then she would ask him questions, that maybe might have caused an argument or something, but she chose to ask those after she gave him sex, or when when they went out somewhere to her husband's favorite restaurant, or when he had his favorite meal, that would be her time to ask questions about their relationship. So I thought that was good. But I like the book because it teaches. She has like a lot of scenarios in the book that a lot of people, they've made bad decisions just because they couldn't control the anger. They couldn't control their emotions, and even in psychology, this is a thing to where anger is the easiest emotion to display. Like, I can't remember the psychologist, but I can remember they had a group of babies, little toddlers probably, and I believe they had it beaten on a doll, maybe a clown or something. And they showed these little babies a video of beating on a doll, and eventually, when they put the babies together in a room with the doll, they were mimicking and doing the same thing. But I guess that's like a thing to where it's like anger is the easiest emotion to display because, nowadays when you go on social media, this is why I limit social media, is because you see so much violence and you see so many people that it's easy for them to be behind their phone and just texting someone something mean, uh, you know, but they enjoy it, and look at that energy that they're transferring just to make themselves feel good. But when I went to therapy a couple of years ago, one of my therapists, I only had one, so she says, when someone says something to us, they're only uh, placing their own insecurities onto us. So eventually, if you tend to think of it that way, just what it is. They try to um, transfer all that negative energy, and some of them can do things in a passive aggressive way to try to get their way, or what they say. I guess it's almost like try to gaslight you a little bit in some ways too, but um, in that sense. So let's see. Oh, so in that, what I was talking about controlling your anger and stuff, one thing, even for me, what I learned about business was that um, even sometimes when it gets, like, I'm a real estate investor, real estate professional, like, I'll have some guests for my rental property that may call me, oh, uh, I need Elliot the pool and blah blah blah, or the TV, and I'm thinking like, oh my god. And sometimes I get excited because it's like when you do something you love, eventually it's not work. And in some situations, even though it could be time consuming, like me dealing with that pool, even though I have a pool guy, but sometimes, okay, it's not like they work on the weekends like that. They don't work like Saturday, Sunday. So if I have to go over there and mess with it or something, then I'm a little bit like, especially if I'm in the middle of something. But just controlling my emotions, I realize that, hey, this person don't have anything to do with my situation. It's just that I have a business to run. They have an issue. I have to resolve it. I know that's just business, but even in relationships, like I could think of sometimes to where uh, I may want to say something, and eventually it's just attack. And I take a step back and I just listen. This is another good thing, that people just want to be heard. They want to be listened to. So, same thing with relationships, your partner, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, or for people that, it's interesting. They say that in this particular Pew study I just went over, they said that most lesbian, gays, and people that are bisexuals, they don't have a problem with um, finding relationships. But it's not like I'm going down that road, but I'm just going over the study. um, but yeah, but just like in that, I was basically getting there to where you'll realize that when you control your emotions, you will realize that everything will eventually work themselves out, and you will get through. And it's not as bad as you think. I know it might be, some things might be tough and bad, but eventually you'll get through. Everything tends to work itself out. It may take some time, but they work themselves out. Uh, so that's what I wanted to talk about, was the some of the dating issues that people are having, and how we could communicate better in relationships, and uh, have like a close connection with our partner, um, to build some healthy, functional relationships for the 50%, 49% of people that, well, at least in the study, they said it was 4,800, but only 49% of people in that study were interested in relationships. I remember a few years ago, I'm only talking about communication, but I'm gonna always try to give you some more insight. I remember a few years ago, this one girl, she was in a very bad abusive relationship with a guy that she had been with for years. And usually you hear women say abuse, and most of the time it's like, okay, well, we need to hear two sides of the story. But I I don't respect a man that puts his hand on a woman. Because even me, I got five sisters, so I don't respect it, and I don't condone it. Uh, but the young lady, talking to her, and asking her if she's okay, and talking a little bit about her situation. She she was getting through, and she probably was in therapy. She got back, she was getting closer or started back going to church or so, right? She's Christian. So she was telling me at the time, I was like, well, maybe, I said, even with me, I went through a, a breakup years ago. This was like 2020, I believe, 2020 or 2019. But I think me and a young lady, we were talking in 2020. And she said, Elliot, she said, the next time, you're dating or you want to find a woman uh, that's going to be right for you, she says, you need to pray. And she said, you need to put in the work to be that person and have some of the characteristics that woman has. And she said, and when you pray, you need to describe her down to a T how you want it. So I said, okay. And I remember, I remember I would go to bed at night, and I would before I went to bed sometimes at night, I would be like, God, please bless me with one of them nice shape, one that fit in shape, light skin, that that long jet black hair or that Hawaiian silky hair, speak a bunch of languages, uh, and just feminine, nice, kind, respectful, and that would be my type. I was like, okay, that's my type of woman right there. But but yeah, that's now I'm just going off one little thing. But that was nice. But now I realize I was like, oh yeah, that's my type. Uh, but yeah, so I hope that those that will watch the video enjoy it. You can leave me some criticism or constructive feedback inside the comment section. I think those that have subscribed, thank you to those that have shared my channel with their friends, family, colleagues. I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Um, well, I say appreciate from the bottom of the heart, but the heart has no feelings. It's the mind. So thank you for that. Uh, Also, I started a Patreon channel that I just put up, and I mentioned that we will have there'll be different tiers in the Patreon community to where I will do more like you'll get to see behind the scenes footage. Uh, I'll put things in there of me traveling to different countries. I like to travel. Uh, I'll do Q&A for the higher tiers. I would like to do eventually like a meet and greet, have phone calls to where we could talk about relationships, or if you want to invest in real estate, or if you need help uh, going towards real estate to build wealth, we would do that inside the Patreon community. Uh, and I also eventually want us, one of the higher tiers, to eventually meet outside the country to have a good time. We could talk about whatever for a little while, but it's mainly about uh, enjoying life and spending time together and networking, if you want. So that's what I have for that Patreon channel. If anybody would like to um, If anybody has a relationship topic or so that they would like me to give an input, and it won't just be my input, I will, make sure I do research, but I will also give my observational uh, view of what I see or my experience in relationships. And I hope everyone tries to, you know, uh, make it through these tough moments that we all have in life, but just know that you will eventually get through. One thing that I tell myself, all things work for the good of those who God loves. Um, and I say Allah is the best of planners, so your life is planned for you if you understand that, and that everything will be well. You pray, you work towards the things you want, and ask God for a little bit of grace and mercy, and all will be well. I wish you all a nice week ahead, and I will see you until next time. Masalama.